morning, students. I welcome you to the second session of The Enemy, written by Pearl Isbah. And yesterday I have told you about the background, the theme, about the author, and the story is based on the Second World War theme, wherein US and Japan, they were at constant war with each other. So that part we've already discussed. Today I'll be moving on to the paraphrasing, but briefly I'll quickly tell you, how things proceeded yesterday. So we got to see that the central character of the story is Dr. Sadao, who was a diligent doctor, known for his trait, known for his, how famous he was in his. Dr. Sadao was a renowned scientist and a doctor, very famous for his work, and that's why everybody wanted to be treated by him. They were nested in Japan, and his father always wanted him to be educated and very famous. Alright. Secondly, this man went to America to pursue medicine. That's what we have discussed. And there he met his wife, Henna, who was also a doctor. And that's how they met each other. But Dr. Sadao was he wanted his father to give his consent for this relationship. And knowing the fact that his father was a true patriot, that's why he did not commit to Henna before he got to know that she was a Japanese too. Sadao and Henna got married only when Sadao got to know that Henna was a Japanese, and they got married with his father's consent. That was very important for Dr. Sadao because, as I've told you, Sadao's father was a single parent and he gave all his life for his son's upbringing. And the only aspiration that he had was his son should be a educated man. And today everybody knows him. He was renowned in his field, and hence his dream was fulfilled. The climax in the story comes in when these two were happily married. They had 2 kids and they were like happy and sorted in life. But one day when they were standing in their balcony, they saw a body. That too, it was raining and it was very foggy that night, and they saw a body. And when they went near it, they got to see that this body belonged to a US soldier. Now there comes 2 things in the story. One is, at that point of time, being a doctor, you are compelled by your Hippocratic oath that I'm going to save anybody. And on the other hand, he was also compelled by his duties towards his country. The sole theme of the story is love transcends all boundaries, and moreover, nothing is more important than the duty towards one another, that is humanism. We all are bonded by a thread called humanism, which is more important and which is the most pivotal of all. So that's what Dr. Sadao finally did. That I will not reveal now. I think I will keep that as a secret. Otherwise, there will be no spice in the story. So please, let's see what's there in store and follow the paraphrasing. I'll again repeat, please keep a pencil in your hand so that whenever and wherever you are stuck, underline the word and ask me about it. I think, students, we were doing this part of the story wherein we get to see that Sadao's father never joked with him, never, he was very serious about his education, and that's why he always wanted Sadao to become something in his life. And when Sadao was at the age of 22, obviously he was sent to America. I think this we have already discussed. And just because he was perfecting a discovery, that's why the general of that country did not want him to go anywhere, as the general wanted him, that is Dr. Sadao, to operate on him. That was the prime concern. Hence, he was not sent anywhere abroad just because he wanted to be treated by Dr. Sadao. He was so good. Sadao watched mist hide outlines of a little island near the shore and then come creeping up the beach below the house, wreathing around the pines. Wreathing is weaving. We wreath flowers in the garland. That's wreathing. In a few minutes, fog would be wrapped about the house too. As I've told you before also yesterday that there was fog and it was about to rain. It was hazy. It was very unclear outside. So then they thought the house would be also under that grip, and they were in that island wherein there were a lot of pine trees in which you used to, climb, if you remember. And the house was as if covered by the pines all around. Then he would go into the room where Henna, his wife, would be waiting for him with the 2 kids. But at this moment, the door opened and she looked out. A dark blue woolen hauri over her kimono. You must have seen all those Japanese people, they wear a weird sort of a dress. I mean, one dress which is there above, and then they wear a overcoat sort of a thing, which is known as kimono. She came to him affectionately and put her arm around his as he stood, smiled and said nothing. He had met Henna in America, but he had waited to fall in love with her until he was sure she was a Japanese, and his father would never have received her unless she had been pure in her race. So as I mentioned it before also, students, that these two people, that is Henna and Sadao, they both were doctors and they went to America for pursuing their medical. That's why when they fell for each other, that is when Sadao started liking Henna. He wanted to figure out whether this girl was a Japanese or not. And I've mentioned this before also, that the father was a true patriot and hence he would not have allowed any other girl in the house, and Sadao did not want to go against his father. So hence finally what happened is, Sadao and Henna fell in love with each other, and with his father's consent, he got married to Henna. He wondered often whom he would have married if he had not met Henna, and by what luck he had found her in the most casual way. By chance, literally at an American professor's house, the professor and his wife have been kind people, anxious to do something for their few foreign students, and the students, though bored, had accepted this kindness. So now, as I've told you, these two met in the professor's house, Henna and Sadao, and there were a lot of other students also belonging to different nationalities. But the professor and his wife, they were very good. The professor was very kind and they used to greet and treat their students at home. That's when they met each other. Sadao had often told Henna how nearly he had not gone to Professor Harley's house that night. So they met at Professor Harley's house and they started talking to each other. The rooms were so small, the food so bad, the professor's wife so voluble. Voluble means very loud, somebody who doesn't know how to talk softly. But he had gone and there he had found Henna, a new student, and had felt he would love her if it were at all possible. Now he felt her hand on his arm and was aware of the pleasure it gave him. Even though they had been married years enough to have the two children, for they had not married heedlessly in America. They had finished their work at school and had come home to Japan. And when his father had seen her, the marriage had been arranged in the old Japanese way. Although Sadao and Henna had talked everything over beforehand. As I was telling you, Professor's wife was voluble, means she was very loud. She did not know how to refine herself. And finally, there was a student, a new student, that was Henna, and Sadao fell for her. They got married, and after so many years also, they were happily in love with each other. So now there's a word which I saw, for they had not married heedlessly in America. Heedlessly means without care or concern. They got married with a lot of care and concern. So finally, they came back to Japan, and when his father had seen her, the marriage had been arranged. So maybe it was love, but it was arranged by his father, and it was arranged in an old Japanese manner, because as you know, Sadao's father was a true patriot. They were perfectly happy. She laid her cheek against his arm. It was at this moment that both of them saw something black come out of the mist. It was a man. He was flung out of the ocean. They both were standing in their balcony. They were happy, and that was their world. Henna, Sadao, and their two kids. All of a sudden, there was something that moved out of the ocean. And through the mist, that means it was all hazy, dark and dingy, they could see a man was thrown out by the ocean. It flung, means it just flew and came out. It seemed to his feet by a breaker. He staggered a few steps. Staggered means he was not able to move steadily. His feet was, one here, there, everywhere. His body outlined against the mist, his arms above his head. Then the curled mist hid him again. "Who's that?" Henna cried. She dropped Sadao's arm and they both leaned over the railing of the veranda. Now they saw him again. The man was on his hands and the knees crawling. Then they saw him falling on his face and lie there. "A fisherman perhaps," Sadao said, "washed from his boat." He ran quickly down the steps and behind him. So by now you have already understood there was a man who was flung, means he was thrown out of the ocean. He came out staggered, as I've told you. He was taking unsteady steps, and both of them see him there coming out of the ocean. Then the curled mist hit him again. Curled means obviously it was all curled up, means all hazy, as you know, means it was all wavy and not very clear. So then, who's that? Henna cried, and she dropped Sadav's arm. They both were standing there. All of a sudden, she said, "Who's there? There's somebody," and somebody's crawling there on the hands and knees. I think he needs our help. And both of them assumed that there must be a fisherman who must be thrown out by a boat or something, or because of the storm, he must be thrown out. So they both ran towards him to figure out what is the problem and how can they help him. Henna came, her white sleeves flying. A mile or two away, on either side, there were fishing villages. But here was only the bare and lonely coast, dangerous with rocks. The surf beyond the beach was spiked with rocks. So what they assumed was there must be some fishermen, and there were a lot of villages nearby. And that entire region was very dangerous. Why? Because it had rocks, and they were all sharp rocks. The surf beyond the beach was spiked with rocks. Spike means they had all, coned rocks. They were all spiked, and it was dangerous. Anybody could get hit by it. Somehow the man had managed to come through them, and he must be badly torn. So they thought that this man must be injured because of the rocks there, and he must be badly torn, badly worn out. They saw when they came towards him that indeed it was so. The sand on one side of him had already a stain of red soaking through. He is wounded. Sadao exclaimed. He made haste to the man who lay motionless, his face in the sand. An old cap stuck to his head, soaked with seawater. He was in wet rags of garments. Sadao stopped, Henna at his side, and turned the man's head. They saw the man. A white man. Henna whispered. Yes, it was a white man. So we get to see that Henna and Sadao, they were standing in their balcony and they were talking to each other. All of a sudden, they see a black shadow, and that shadow was thrown out of the ocean bed. They both were trying to figure out who is this man. So they ran towards the body, and throughout the way they were assuming that there are many villages around. Maybe a fisherman has been thrown out of it. As such, the entire beach was all very rough, and it was covered with spiky rocks. I mean, they were all rough, sharp rocks all over. So maybe a fisherman has got injured because of that and must be thrown out of the ocean like that. So they ran to help him. This man was walking out of the ocean, and he was not able to walk properly. He was, limping. He was staggering with unsteady steps, and hence these two go and peep into who is he. So let's see, there comes a climax when they turn the body, and what do they find? Somehow the man had managed to come through them. He must be badly torn. They saw when they came towards him that indeed it was so. The sand on one side of him had already a stain of red soaking through, and he is wounded. Sadao exclaimed. He made haste to the man. Haste means he was quick to the man. And he assumed that this man is wounded and he is motionless. He needs help. His face in the sand. An old cap stuck to his head, soaked with seawater. And there was a cap also. He was in wet rags of garments. Sadao stopped Henna at his side and turned the man's head, and they saw the face. The white man. I mean, he was a white man. Yes, it was a white man. So then they assumed that he was a fisherman, but when they turned around and saw the cap, they could figure out that he was not a fisherman, but a US soldier, or you can say a POW, that is prisoner of war. The wet cap fell away, and there was his wet yellow hair, long, as though for many weeks it had not been cut, and upon his young and tortured face was a rough yellow beard. He was unconscious and knew nothing that they did for him. Now Sadao remembered the wound, and with his expert fingers he began to search for it. Blood flows freshly at his touch. On the right side of his lower back, Sadao saw that a gun wound had been reopened. The flesh was blackened with powder. Sometime, not many days ago, the man had been shot and had not been attended. So, Sadao saw that he was a prisoner of war. He He was a young man who was tortured, obviously, and Sadao remembered the wound. He tried to figure out where's the wound, and with his expert fingers, he probed his fingers into his body to see where is the wound and what is the exact problem, and he could figure out there's a wound. Blood was oozing out of it. There must be some bullet or something inside, and also the flesh has got blackened because an infection has grown. He was shot and he was not attended. The bullet is still inside the body, and that's why it has become like this. It was bad chance that the rock had struck the wound, and unfortunately, see, it always happens, wherever you are hurt, you get hurt at the same place. So the rock was also stuck at the same position. Oh, how is he bleeding? Hannah whispered again in a solemn voice. Solemn is serious here. Whisper is, you say in a very low tone. The mist screened them now completely, and at this time of the day, no one came by. The fishermen had gone home, and even the chance beachcombers would have considered the day at an end. Beachcombers are people, you must be seeing, that all those people who have a bag behind them and they keep clearing the stuff. The plastic, the bottles or anything which is there on the beach, they will take it and put it in the bag. They're beachcombers, collecting rags or whatever inside their bag. So they have also called the day off. What shall we do with this man? Sadao muttered. So Sadao was like confused what to do with this man. Muttered means to say something in a low tone, to mumble something. But his trained hands seemed of their own will to be doing what they could to staunch the fearful bleeding. So he was standing there confused what to do with this man, but his hands wanted to stop the bleeding. The blood was oozing out of his body, and if this continues, he would surely die. He packed the wound with the sea moss that strewed the beach. Strewed means scattered or spread, untidy spread. The man moaned with pain. Moan means low cry. With pain in his stupor. Stupor is unconsciousness, but he did not awaken. The best thing that we would be to put him back in the sea, Sadao said, answering himself. Now that the bleeding was stopped for the moment, he stood up and dusted the sand from his hands. Yes, undoubtedly, that would be the best, Hannah said steadily. But she continued to stare down at the motionless man. Now there comes the dilemma of the doctors, wherein they have the power to save him, knowing the fact he is an enemy. They were standing there. Then Sadao said, I think it will be best to let him die here. Hannah was also standing. Both could not move because they were also compelled by their sense of duty. If we sheltered a white man in our house, we would be arrested, and if we turned him over as a prisoner, he would certainly die. So that is what was going on in their head, that if this man, if we leave him out, obviously he's going to die, and if we keep him at home, then we can be arrested. The kindest thing would be to put him back into the sea, Hannah said, but neither of them moved. Why do you think they both were not able to move? Because of the sense of duty. Being doctors, they had the power to save a life, and how can they let that body or that man to die in front of their eyes when God has blessed them with the power to give life? They were staring with a curious repulsion upon the inert figure. What is he? Hannah whispered. There's something about him that looks American, Sadao said. He took up the battered cap. Yes, they're almost gone, was a faint lettering. A sailor, he said, from an American warship. He spelled it out, U.S. Navy. The man was a prisoner of war. He has escaped, Hannah cried softly, and that is why he is wounded in the back. Sadao agreed. They hesitated, looking at each other. Then Hannah said with resolution. So they both were discussing about his identity, and they could figure out that he was a soldier, that is, he was a prisoner of war. He escaped, and that's why he was wounded. It spelled properly that he was a soldier from US Navy, and they both were standing in such a situation, what to do, whether to take him home or to let him die. But Hannah now said with something. Resolution means when you are firm about something. Come, are we able to put him back into the sea? If I am able, are you? Sadao asked. No, Hannah said. But if you can do it alone, Sadao hesitated again. The strange thing is, he said, that if the man were whole, I could turn him over to the police without difficulty. So they said that if he was okay, if he would have been fine, I would have given him to the police without any difficulty. I care nothing about him. He's my enemy. Now this is what Sadao is talking to himself. He's trying to pacify himself that he's an enemy and I don't care. All Americans are my enemy and he is only a common fellow. You see how foolish his face is? He's trying to give himself strength that he can put him into the sea. But since he is wounded, you also cannot throw him back to the sea, Henna said. Then there's only one thing to do. We must carry him into the house, but the servants, Sadao inquired. Now Sadao and Henna were in such a quandary, they were not able to understand how to go about it. A situation which, raises ethical responsibility, being doctors. On one hand, they were doctors and they had to fulfill the responsibility of that profession. On the other hand, they were also citizens of a country which compelled them to throw that man into the ocean. Both of them decided that no, we are not going to throw him. We will take him home. First there was a confusion and they kept conversing with each other that what to do, how to go about it. Sadao said, I would have handed him to the police if he was okay. But looking at his situation, if we don't treat him, he would die. So they decided to take him home. The next question was, what about the servants? They will never understand their decision. They would never abide by it because for them, he will be an American. And they will think that the master is giving refuge to an enemy. With this, I come to the end of this session. I hope you have understood everything. If not, please get back to me. I will come back to you again with the third session. Please read and clear all your doubts. This is a long story. So I think you should know, you should make flowcharts while you write. Thank you.